Give me a C. Give me an L. Give me an R and A. I think I skipped an A. Oh my gosh. I am definitely not a cheerleader. Never was because I would have sucked. Today I am cheering because I am celebrating my 2-month anniversary with Gogokid and I absolutely love this company. I wanted to share my stats because I think as a new teacher or someone considering joining an online ESL company like Gogokid, it is important to kind of get a realistic picture of what you can expect as a new teacher on your schedule, how many classes, what kind of classes, etc., etc. So let's go. So like I said, I have been with Gogokid for 2 months, 60 days. In those 60 days, I feel like I have accomplished a lot and I have seen a great improvement on the classes and the number of core students that I am getting versus the trial students. I signed my contract November 3rd. 4 days later, I got my mentor class booked. Note on the mentor class, you have to open up your availability in order to get that class booked and hope that you don't get any students before your mentor class, which is what happened to me, but I've heard of other teachers getting real students before their mentor class. Whatever works, don't fret. Usually your mentor class is the first thing that will get booked, but if it doesn't, it's okay. Just roll with things. Roll with things and you'll be okay. So, like I said, signed my contract. 4 days later, I opened up my availability and I got my mentor class booked. The mentor class is great. It gives you an opportunity to do a mock lesson with an American teacher and kind of go over how the platform works and do a mock, like I said, and receive feedback from other teachers on what works well, what doesn't work, what are some improvements you could do before you start teaching real students. So that was 4 days later. 2 days after that, I got my first class with real students. And although I'm very appreciative of my mentor and she gave me some great feedback and encouragement on things I was doing well, the fact that I was teaching an actual child was an incredible experience. Being sort of new, it is always very rewarding and very encouraging to see the reaction of the kids with the content, with what you're doing, and it's just great. You will find that the energy that you get back from them is amazing. So that was pretty cool. So that, again, 6 days after I signed my contract, I had my first classes with students. Now, as a side note, just want to put this out there. I do this as a side gig. I have a full-time job, so my availability to open up for classes with Gogokid is sort of limited. I do some of the peak time slots that they have for Beijing time, but I'm not able to do all of them. And I do have some spots that are before the peak time slots that I open. The majority of the time they book with a trial, but again, if you have availability and the option to open up peak times, your chances are even better than mine. And if you have full availability, you're looking to do this as a full-time job, or maybe you work nights or something like that, then even more of a chance to do better than my numbers. 166 spots I opened and were booked. I believe I actually opened like 170 and 166 to date have booked. It's very few, the number of spots that I open up and don't get booked. So note to new teachers, if you are looking at your schedule, you've opened up some spots and you see that they are not getting booked, do not fret. They will book. The majority of mine, especially in the beginning, were booking 1 to 2 days before the actual class time arrived. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not getting booked. I'm throwing in the towel. This is not going to work for me, but that is not the case. Again, hang tight. Make sure you have a great video that kind of shows them what to expect if they were to enroll in your class or take your class, and just open up your spots and just hang tight, because more than likely they will come. So 166 spots were opened and booked. Out of those 166, 124 of those I taught. So in reality, I've only taught 124 classes in my tenure with Gogokid, but I think that's great because 14 of the 166 were student cancellations within 24 hours, so I'm still getting paid for those. 27 were student no-shows, again, I'm still getting paid for those, and one was the student IT, and I got paid for that. So for the ones that were outside of the 124 that I just mentioned, student cancellation, student no-show, and I believe student IT, I get 60% of what I would have gotten otherwise. So 60% of my base pay, which is fine. Hey, I was there not really working and still getting paid. So that's great. Out of the 166, 98 were trial classes and 68 were core. In the beginning, before I created a base of core students that were following me, the majority of them were trials, and like I mentioned, they were booking 1 to 2 days before the class spot actually came about. But as I started teaching more and doing a good job with the trials and enrolling some of those trial students, converting them into core students, then the number of trials that I get on my schedule has decreased and the number of core classes that I get have increased. So again, just be patient. It took a little while. It wasn't right out of the gate that I started getting core students. But what did help is, again, having your schedule open as far in advance as possible, making sure you do get some of those peak times in your schedule as available times so that you have a better chance of getting booked. So I wanted to share my numbers because, again, I think as a new teacher or someone that is considering jumping into the Gogokid bandwagon, it is important to know what is a realistic expectation. And this is just my story. There are people out there that have done more or have done less, but it all depends on what your availability is, how you put yourself out there, and maybe sometimes it's just timing. And speaking of timing, right now is a great time to join Gogokid if you have not yet, because they are doing a full blast marketing campaign. They're expecting a lot of students to join, and I have seen an increase in the number of trials, which means those are potential students wanting to take classes with Gogokid, which is great. So if you have not yet signed up and you are looking for someone to guide you in your process, I would be more than happy to do so. Share any tips, share any props, materials that I have that have worked for me. Just be someone that can support you along the way, and I would be happy to do that. So if you want my help, make sure that you connect with me below. I will put my Instagram and my email and everything down below so that you can reach out to me. And if you are a new teacher and you are already on board with Gogokid but you have questions, again, I am more than happy to help. It's definitely a little bit nerve-wracking, especially if you have not taught online before. There's a lot of questions. It can be scary. So having that one person that maybe has gone through it before as a support system, I'm here if you need me. All right, guys, please like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. What are some of the questions you have? What is something that maybe has made you look into online teaching? I know for me, it's a side hustle, and I am trying to pay down debt and spend more time with my family in the future. So it's a small part of my big scale plan. But what is your reason? I'd love to know. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you later.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in.